The planet Orun 9 was a world forgotten by time. It hung near the edge of a dying star, its golden desert stretching endlessly under a dim red sky. No wind moved the dust. No birds cried. The surface was silent. Too silent. When a sound probe was sent there years ago, the data returned blank. No vibrations, no echoes, just emptiness. Now, a team of explorers from Earth's Frontier Corps had come to solve the mystery. Their ship, Aurora's Step, landed in a slow cloud of sand. The engines hummed softly inside the cabin, but when the ramp opened, the sound vanished completely. The crew could not even hear their own boots crunch on the ground. There were 5 of them. Captain Reed, a calm man who trusted facts more than feelings. Mara, an archaeologist known for her curiosity. Tobin, the engineer who always joked to hide his fear. Lena, a linguist with a sharp mind. And Darius, a quiet security officer who rarely spoke but noticed everything. As they stepped out into the strange world, Mara felt her stomach twist. The silence was not just the absence of noise. It was something heavier, pressing against her ears like invisible weight. She tapped her helmet and spoke, but no voice reached her. Reed gestured for everyone to use hand signals, and they nodded. The air itself felt trapped, as if the world was holding its breath. They followed a narrow path that the scanners had marked earlier. It led to a half-buried structure made of dark stone and gold metal. The entrance looked ancient, shaped like an open mouth frozen mid-scream. Around it, pillars carved with alien figures leaned against each other, their surfaces smooth as glass. Inside their helmets, the crew's internal comms worked, though the outside world stayed silent. "This is strange," Mara said. "Even on dead planets there should be sound, wind, static, something." Reed answered calmly, "We'll record everything. Maybe the atmosphere filters vibration differently." Tobin muttered, "Or maybe the planet just doesn't like talking to us." They entered the structure. Their suit lights cut through the darkness, showing a long hallway lined with bones. Not white like human bones, but golden. The bones were huge, each one engraved with symbols that glowed faintly under the light. The air inside was cold, even though outside the heat shimmered across the sand. "Looks like a burial site," Lena said softly. "Maybe a royal tomb." Reed nodded. "Stay sharp. Watch your step." As they moved deeper, the silence grew heavier. Even the sound of their breathing seemed distant. The deeper they went, the grander the structure became. The walls widened into a circular chamber. In its center stood a massive golden gate, tall as a tower. Symbols and figures spiraled across it like veins of light. Around the gate lay countless bones, some humanoid, others alien beyond imagination. Mara's eyes widened in wonder. She knelt beside a skull as big as her torso. "These aren't statues," she whispered. "They're real remains, preserved somehow." "Gold doesn't preserve bones," Tobin said. "It melts. So how?" He stopped as the chamber's glow dimmed slightly. Even though none of them made a sound, the air seemed to respond to their presence. Reed checked his scanner. "Power readings are unstable. Something's active below us." Lena looked at the gate. Maybe this structure still runs on energy. The symbols might be a language. Mara leaned closer, tracing her gloved fingers over the carvings. "This writing, it's similar to ancient markings found on Tau Station ruins, but those were millions of years old." Reed frowned. "Millions?" "Yes," Mara said. "Which means this civilization existed before Earth's first cities." Tobin gave a nervous laugh. "You're saying they were here before us?" Mara looked around. "I'm saying they might have watched us rise." The silence thickened again. Even their comms gave a faint crackle, as if the signal was being swallowed. Darius scanned the corners with his rifle, though there was no threat in sight. His eyes caught something near the far wall, an enormous mural carved into the stone. He pointed. The team gathered around it. The mural showed strange beings, tall, thin, their eyes glowing like suns, fighting shadowy figures that looked almost human. Energy beams and fire filled the image, yet no sound came even from the equipment recording it. Lena touched the edge of the mural. "This looks like a war," Reed asked. "Between who?" She hesitated. "I think them and something that looked like us." Mara's heart pounded. "Humans? Or a species that resembled us," Lena said. "But look, see this line? It ends with a gate, the same as that one in the center." Mara turned toward the gate again. The carvings on it seemed to move under her light like rippling water. "Whatever they fought against, this gate was their end," she murmured. Reed ordered Tobin to place motion sensors. "If this structure's alive, I want to know." Tobin crouched, placing one near a pile of bones. The instant his tool touched the ground, every light flickered. For a second, the golden bones glowed with bright energy, then went still. Everyone froze. "Captain," Tobin said slowly, "I didn't do anything." Reed checked his wrist pad. "No readings. It's like the system absorbed our scan." Mara, still near the gate, felt a faint vibration through her glove. It wasn't a sound, it was a pulse. Like a heartbeat. "It's reacting to us," she whispered. "It knows we're here." Reed shook his head. "We don't know that." But Mara wasn't listening anymore. Her eyes were on the symbols. They were glowing brighter now, one by one, forming a path across the gate. Darius raised his rifle. "Captain, we should back away. Something's waking up." Reed took a slow breath. "Fall back to the entry. Mara, move." But she didn't move. The symbols were shifting into patterns she could almost read. The language wasn't just writing. It was memory. Pictures and feelings crossed her mind like lightning. A golden world filled with proud beings of light. A war that burned across the stars. And then silence. Total and eternal silence. Her body trembled. She saw their end, their sorrow, their decision to lock away their voices forever. They had chosen silence over destruction. "Mara!" Reed grabbed her shoulder, breaking her focus. The light in the gate faded again. Her knees gave way, and she gasped for breath. "I saw them," she whispered. "They silenced their world. Because they were afraid." "Afraid of what?" Reed asked. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with both wonder and fear. "Afraid of us." The chamber returned to stillness. The lights dimmed to a soft golden glow. Outside, the desert remained silent under the dying sun. The team camped near the entrance that night. Inside their ship, the air felt lighter now that sound returned. The hum of machines and the whisper of voices were comforting. But Mara couldn't stop thinking about what she saw. She replayed the carvings on her tablet, studying the war scenes. She zoomed in on one section, an image of a human-like figure standing before the golden race. The figure's mouth was open, shouting, while the others covered their ears in pain. The caption below, in glowing letters, translated roughly to, "The voice that ends worlds." Mara stared at it for a long time. Humanity had always been loud, through war, invention, and exploration. But could their ancestors have once faced these beings? Or had these aliens seen the future and feared what humans might become? When she stepped outside the ship later that night, the stars above Orin 9 were dim, as if hiding. The ruins stood in the distance, quiet and ancient. She felt drawn to them again. Something inside that chamber was still alive, waiting for someone to listen. "Captain," she said through the comm, "I'm going back inside." "Just for a moment." Reed's tired voice came back. "It's late, Mara. Get some rest. We'll study it again tomorrow." She hesitated, then said softly, "I can't rest. That place isn't done talking." But she didn't tell him the truth. She hadn't just seen visions. When she had touched the gate, she had felt something deeper. A presence. A whisper too faint to hear, yet somehow inside her mind. It said only one thing. "Wake us." And as the red sun sank behind the dunes, Mara knew that the silence of Orin 9 was not dead. It was waiting. The next morning on Orin 9 began in silence, just like every other moment on that strange planet. The red sun rose slowly over the dunes, casting long shadows across the golden ruins. The air shimmered dry and heavy. Not a grain of sand moved without reason. Inside their camp, the crew of Aurora's Step prepared to continue their study. They had recorded thousands of images of the golden bones and the giant gate the day before. Yet every file sounded empty. No hum from scanners, no echo from steps, not even breathing sounds. The planet's silence erased everything that tried to exist in it. Captain Reed stood near the control table, staring at the data. "Still nothing," he said, shaking his head. "No sound, no pulse, no life readings. It's like the air itself eats noise." Engineer Tobin groaned. "Maybe the place just doesn't want to be disturbed. I say we take a few samples and head home." But Mara, sitting quietly nearby, looked restless. She hadn't slept much. All night she had heard something, not through her ears but deep inside her thoughts. It was like a whisper carried through the bones of the planet. She felt it calling to her, asking her to return to the chamber. Linguist Lena noticed her silence. "You look pale, Mara. Are you feeling all right?" Mara hesitated before replying. "I think the chamber was trying to speak yesterday, not with words but with something else." Reed turned toward her. "You think it's alive?" "Maybe not alive," Mara said, "but aware. The symbols, the bones, the gate, they reacted to us. Especially when I touched them." Tobin crossed his arms. "That's exactly why we don't touch ancient alien gates." Lena frowned at him. "Be serious, Tobin. If the site holds information, we need to understand it." "The silence could be a defense field or a message." Reed nodded slowly. "All right. We'll go back in. But this time no one acts alone." He looked at Mara. "You stay in visual range at all times." She agreed, though deep inside she knew that whatever was hidden in that chamber wanted her specifically. She didn't understand why, but she felt it. They re-entered the ruins after midday. Their boots sank slightly in the soft dust as they walked down the same hallway lined with golden bones. The glow from the carvings had dimmed overnight, but the air still carried that strange, heavy quietness. Inside the main chamber, the great gate stood unmoved, tall and cold. The bones around it were still arranged like guards around a throne. Reed ordered the team to spread out, Lena to study the wall carvings, Tobin to check energy readings, and Darius to watch the perimeter. Mara approached the golden skull she had seen before. It shimmered faintly under her light. She knelt beside it, feeling an odd warmth through her gloves. "What are you?" she whispered, even though she knew no sound would leave her lips. Then something happened. The skull began to glow. Not suddenly, but like an ember waking up after a long sleep. Lines of light ran through the bones, connecting one to another. Ribs, arms, skulls, all across the floor. The entire chamber lit up in soft gold. Lena gasped. "Captain! The bones, they're glowing!" Reed hurried over. "What did we touch?" "No one did anything," Tobin shouted, his scanner shaking in his hands. "It's coming from under us." The light spread to the walls, then to the carvings. The images of war and sorrow came alive, shimmering like holograms. In the middle of the chamber, the air thickened and formed shapes, ghostly outlines of tall beings made of gold light. They moved silently, repeating actions of a battle that had happened long ago. It was like watching memories replay in the air. Mara stood frozen. The figures fought each other, one side shining bright like suns, the other dark like shadows. Ships fell from the sky. Mountains burned, planets cracked. All of it happened in absolute silence. Even though she couldn't hear the screams or explosions, she felt them in her chest. It was like the silence itself carried the pain of the battle. Lena whispered through the comms, her voice trembling. "It's a memory recording. Maybe millions of years old." Reed's eyes were wide. "But why is it showing us this now?" Tobin said. "Maybe we triggered it." But Mara shook her head. "No, it's not random. It's showing me something." She stepped closer, drawn to the center of the chamber. As she did, one of the glowing warriors fell before her, clutching its chest. Its golden eyes dimmed. For a moment, it looked directly at her. She gasped. The creature's face, though alien, carried a trace of something human in its expression. Suddenly, the light around it pulsed and flowed into her chest like a breath. She stumbled back, clutching her helmet. Images and thoughts burst through her mind, 1,000 voices speaking without sound. She saw their world, bright and full of harmony, before the war began. The golden race had built wonders that touched the stars. They believed silence was sacred, that noise led to chaos. But then came another race, loud and fierce, driven by emotion. Humans, or maybe something like humans. The golden race feared them. They thought humans' endless will to fight and create would one day destroy everything. So they made a weapon, the silence field, a force that could erase all sound, vibration, and energy. They believed if the universe went quiet, it would finally find peace. But when they activated it, it didn't stop the war. It stopped everything. It erased their voices, their songs, even their memories of laughter. The silence field grew stronger, swallowing their cities and finally trapping them in this chamber, a prison of eternal quiet. Mara fell to her knees, shaking. Her vision blurred as the memories faded. She realized that the silence of Orun 9 was not just the planet's state. It was a curse, a punishment. Reed and Lena ran to her side. "Mara, what happened?" Reed asked. She looked up, tears forming in her eyes. "They silenced themselves," she said weakly, "to escape their fear. And now they're trapped in their own silence forever." Tobin stared around nervously. "This place gives me chills. I say we leave before the bones start walking too." But Mara ignored him. She touched the glowing floor again. The warmth returned like a pulse beneath her hand. "They called this chamber a sanctuary, but it's also a grave. They wanted someone to find them. Someone who could bring back their voice." Reed frowned. "Why you?" "I don't know," she said. "Maybe because I listened." The glow slowly dimmed and the ghostly figures faded away. The chamber returned to its still golden light. But the air felt different now, heavier with meaning, as if the memories had changed it. Reed called for a break. The crew stepped outside to rest, though Mara stayed near the entrance. She looked back one more time. In the darkness of the chamber, one pair of golden eyes still glowed faintly, watching her. That evening, they gathered in the ship again. Reed spoke firmly. "We've seen enough. The structure's alive and we don't know its limits. We'll prepare to leave by tomorrow." Lena disagreed. "Captain, we can't just go." "The language, the energy field. It's a discovery greater than anything we found before." Reed sighed. "And it's dangerous. If the silence field activates again, we could lose contact forever." But Mara spoke quietly. "What if this silence isn't an attack? What if it's a call for help?" Everyone turned toward her. She continued. "The chamber showed me their story. They trapped themselves in silence to stop war. But now they're begging for release. They want someone to restore their sound, to make them heard again." Reed looked uncertain. "And how do you plan to do that?" Mara glanced toward the dark ruins through the ship's window. "I think they need a voice." "A human voice," Tobin groaned. "Oh great, now you want to sing to alien bones?" But no one laughed. The thought lingered. What if it was true? What if sound, human sounding, could break the curse? That night, while the others slept, Mara stood at the entrance of the ruins again. The stars above were faint through the dusty sky. She stepped quietly into the chamber. The golden gate shimmered softly, waiting. She felt the vibration under her feet again, the faint heartbeat of the planet. "I don't know if you can hear me," she said softly, even though she knew no sound would reach the walls. "But if silence was your punishment, maybe I can help you forgive yourselves." She placed her hand on the gate. The carvings lit up instantly, forming waves of light that moved like ripples across water. The bones glowed again, this time brighter than before. The golden skulls turned toward her, their eyes alive with faint light. A pulse of energy ran through her suit, and she heard it, not with her ears but inside her heart, a single word that shook her to the core. "Speak." Mara took a deep breath. For the first time, she understood what the chamber wanted. It didn't need more silence. It needed sound, the one thing it had lost for ages. Her hand trembled as she whispered, "Then listen." The air began to hum faintly, the first vibration the planet had known in centuries. The bones trembled, the golden gate shimmered brighter, and a small gust of wind stirred the sand outside. Mara stood in the middle of it all, her heart pounding, as the chamber awakened once more. Mara stood alone inside the ancient chamber. Her hand rested on the glowing gate, and golden light swirled around her like soft fire. The bones trembled gently as if they were breathing for the first time in centuries. The silence began to change. It wasn't gone yet, but faint vibrations touched her suit. The hum of something old waking up. It felt like the whole planet was stretching after a long sleep. Mara whispered, "I can feel you. I know you want to be heard." Her words vanished into the air, but the chamber responded with a pulse of light that moved across the walls and into the gate. Outside, Captain Reed and the others woke as alarms blinked across their screens. "Energy spike! Coming from the ruins," shouted Tobin, who was half asleep seconds ago. Reed jumped from his seat. "What's Mara's location?" "Inside the chamber again," said Lena, checking her wrist pad. "She's in the center of the structure." Reed cursed under his breath and grabbed his helmet. "She's going to get herself killed." Darius followed him silently, loading his scanner rifle. Inside, the light grew stronger. The symbols on the golden gate twisted into new shapes, forming words in a language no one had spoken for 1,000,000 years. Then, from deep within the structure, a voice began to rise. Not sound exactly, but something between a whisper and a vibration inside her mind. It spoke slowly, broken by time. "Human voice." "You wake the silence." Mara froze. Her heart beat faster. The voice wasn't hers, and it was ancient, heavy, filled with sorrow. She looked around but saw no one. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The golden bones lifted slightly, forming into a tall figure of light. The shape was made of hundreds of golden fragments that moved together like sand caught in wind. It stood more than twice her height, its face hidden behind a crown of light. "I am the last king," the voice said. "The keeper of silence. You break the stillness we made." Mara's throat went dry. She was standing before the spirit of a civilization long gone. "You created the silence field," she said. "Why?" The king's figure flickered as he replied, "We feared the noise of war. Our voices built worlds, then burned them. We swore never again. Silence was peace. Silence was safety. But it killed you," Mara whispered. The golden light dimmed as if he sighed. Yes, silence became a tomb. No laughter, no song, no life. Only stillness. Mara took a step forward. "Then let me help you end it." The king turned his glowing eyes toward her. "Why would you do this? Humans were the reason we silenced the stars. You are the ones who speak too loud, who fight too hard." Mara stood tall. "Maybe we do, but we never stop trying. That's what keeps us alive." The golden light shimmered again, and the king seemed to study her. "Your kind brings both creation and ruin. We sealed this chamber so your kind would never find it. But you also waited," Mara said gently. "You left clues, symbols, memory. Deep down, you wanted to be found." For a moment, the king was silent. Then he said, "Perhaps. We hoped that one day someone would understand." That silence was never the answer. Reed and his team rushed into the ruins, their suit lights cutting through the dark hallway. The ground vibrated beneath their boots, and golden dust fell from the ceiling like stars. When they reached the main chamber, the sight stopped them cold. Mara stood before the gate, surrounded by a storm of light. The bones had formed a circle around her, and in the center stood the towering golden figure. "Captain," Lena whispered, "that's not human." Reed aimed his scanner. "Energy readings are off the charts. If that thing's hostile, don't—" Mara shouted suddenly, her voice echoing through the chamber, echoing. For the first time, sound carried. Everyone froze. Even the king turned his head slightly. The silence was breaking. Reed lowered his weapon slowly. "Mara, what's happening?" Her face was pale, but her eyes shone with awe. "He's the last of them. The king of the silent race. They silenced their world to stop destruction, but it trapped them forever." Lena looked around in disbelief. "They punished themselves with silence?" Mara nodded. "And now he's asking if we deserve to break it." The king looked at Reed's group and spoke again. His voice was deeper now, filling the air like distant thunder. "Humanity is noise. You rise and fall with sound. Do you bring harmony or chaos?" Reed swallowed hard. "We bring both," he said honestly. "But we learn, we change. We survive." The king's eyes glowed brighter. "Your kind destroyed worlds." Reed met his gaze. "And we also saved them. You may have seen our wars, but you never saw our courage." For a long moment the king was silent again. Then his light dimmed slightly, as if thoughtful. "Perhaps. It is time to hear again," he said finally. The ground shook. The golden gate began to move, splitting slowly down the center. A wave of dust rolled through the chamber, followed by a sound, faint, broken like the whisper of wind. Tobin's eyes widened. Sound, I can hear it, Lena gasped. The silence is breaking. Mara turned to the king. What's behind the gate? The heart of our world, he said. It holds the last breath of the silent race. If opened, sound will return, and but so will memory. The machines buried below will awaken. Reed frowned. What kind of machines? War machines, the king replied. Built to end all life. If they rise uncontrolled, they could destroy again. The room fell silent. A different silence this time, one of fear and choice. Mara's voice trembled. Then you need us. You need humanity to help you control them. The king looked at her carefully. You would take that risk? She nodded. Silence isn't peace. It's just emptiness. We'll help you bring life back. Not destruction. The king slowly raised his hand, light swirling around his arm like smoke. Then I will give you the key. A beam of light shot from his palm and entered the small crystal on Mara's suit. Her whole body glowed for a moment. She gasped as new symbols filled her mind. Maps, codes, and strange instructions. Reed stepped forward. What did you do to her? The king's voice was calm. I gave her our song. Only a living voice can unlock the heart. Then slowly his form began to fade. The golden fragments drifted into the air, swirling like dust caught in sunlight. Mara, he said softly, when you speak, the chamber will answer. But be warned, sound is power. Use it with care. Wait, Mara cried. What will happen to you? The king's fading eyes met hers one last time. We have waited too long. Our time is done. But your voice will carry us. And with that, the king's light dissolved completely. The chamber dimmed and the silence returned. But this time it felt fragile, thin as if waiting for something to break it. Reed placed a hand on Mara's shoulder. You okay? She nodded slowly. He's gone. But he left something behind. Tobin looked uneasy. So what now? You sing and the world explodes? Mara gave a small smile. Maybe it doesn't explode. Maybe it wakes up. They stepped closer to the golden gate. The split in the center glowed faintly like a sunrise waiting to happen. Beyond it, faint patterns of light shimmered, as if something vast and beautiful waited on the other side. Lena whispered, Do you really think your voice can open it? I don't know, Mara said honestly, but he believed it could. Reed looked around at his crew. If we do this, there's no going back. Once we break the silence, we might wake the machines too. Mara met his eyes. Captain, we came here to learn. Maybe this is what we were meant to find. For a moment, Reed said nothing. Then he nodded slowly. All right, do it. Mara took a deep breath and stepped toward the gate. She could feel the golden key within her chest, the pulse of the ancient song waiting to be released. She closed her eyes. Then she began to sing. Her voice was soft at first, shaky, uncertain, but it echoed. The sound filled the air like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. It wasn't a perfect song, but it was real, human, and full of emotion. The golden gate responded instantly. Light burst from the cymbals, flooding the room with radiance. The bones glowed brighter, and the silence shattered completely as the sound of her voice filled every corner. Outside, the dunes trembled. Wind rose for the first time in centuries. The sound of sand moving, the hum of power, and the faint cry of the planet echoed through the air. Reed and the others shielded their eyes as the chamber roared to life. Then, deep beneath the planet, something answered Mara's song, a deep, slow heartbeat made of metal and energy. The machines were awakening. Mara stopped singing, breathless. The gate was now fully open, revealing a tunnel of gold leading down into darkness. Reed stepped beside her. You did it, but she looked uneasy. Yes, but it's not over. Something's coming alive down there, Lena whispered. What is it? Mara's voice was soft, almost afraid, the heart of the silent race. And as the air filled with the sound of thunder for the first time in 1,000 years, the crew of Aurora's Step realized that they had not just broken the silence, they had awakened the world. The moment Mara's voice echoed through the chamber, the ground beneath Oran 9 trembled. Dust rose from the golden floors, swirling around the massive bones that now pulsed with light. The golden gate stood open, revealing a staircase carved of glowing stone that spiraled deep into the planet's heart. Reed's eyes widened as he looked down into the darkness. What the? Mara, are you sure about this? She swallowed, her hand still glowing from the song. It's too late to turn back now. The king said the heart waits for a living voice. Tobin, gripping his scanner like a lifeline, muttered, "A heart? What kind of heart?" "Their energy core," Mara said quietly. "The source of the silence field, the machines we feared, they guard it." Darius scanned the chamber carefully. "Whatever is down there, it's ancient. And it's massive." Mara led the way, stepping onto the first stair. The light from the golden walls reflected off the bones, creating moving patterns that danced like stars. Each step echoed faintly, not through sound but through vibration. It was as if the planet itself was aware of their descent. The tunnel ended in a vast underground hall. Its ceiling arched like the inside of a cathedral, and walls lined with golden bones stretched into shadow. At the center, a massive organ of machinery lay dormant, towering gears, tubes, and panels of alien design, all fused with gold and bone. Mara approached carefully. "This is it," she whispered. "The heart of the silent race." Reed studied the structure. "It's beautiful and terrifying." The moment Mara stepped closer, the heart stirred. Golden light ran along its circuits, flowing like molten liquid. The bones around it lifted slightly, like soldiers standing in formation. Reed instinctively took a step back, unsure if the heart would attack. Then it spoke, not words but a vibration that pressed into their minds. Life. Or silence. Choose. Mara felt it deep in her chest. The chamber was alive, aware of her presence. She realized the song that had awakened the king's spirit had not only called him back, but also the guardians below, the ancient machines built to enforce silence. Tobin muttered nervously, "And what if it chooses wrong?" Mara looked at him, her eyes firm. "It's already waiting for someone to guide it. That's why we're here." Slowly the machines began to rise. From the shadows, massive golden drones emerged, shaped like winged insects but with armored bones. They hovered silently, scanning the humans with glowing eyes. Reed raised his scanner. "Energy levels are off the charts. They're huge." The drones did not attack. They simply observed, circling the chamber like birds over a nest. Mara stepped forward, raising her hand. "It's okay. We mean no harm." One drone lowered itself to her level. It hovered near her helmet, its glowing eyes studying her face. Mara held her breath. Then softly she whispered, "We want to help you." The drone tilted its head and a low vibration hummed through the hall. The heart of the machines pulsed, echoing in rhythm with the drone's energy. Mara realized the drones were listening, learning. "They're absorbing our energy," she said, eyes wide. "Not for attack, but for understanding. They want to rebuild their world through us." Reed frowned. "Through us?" Mara nodded. "Our voice awakened them. Our presence allows them to live again, but they don't know how to exist safely. That's why the king needed me, to guide them." Suddenly, alarm sounded from orbit. Earth's fleet had detected the energy spikes from Orin 9. Their scanners showed massive power surging from the ruins. The command center had no explanation, and panic spread across the fleet. "Captain," Reed muttered as he checked his comms. "Earth wants to destroy the site. They think it's a weapon." Mara's eyes widened. "No, they don't understand. These machines aren't weapons, they're alive." Reed cursed under his breath. "We need to stop them from firing." Tobin's hands flew over the control panel. "Impossible. The fleet is already in position." Darius clenched his jaw. "Then we make our own choice. We protect what we've awakened." Mara nodded. "We have to help the machines remember how to live without destroying. We can guide them." Inside the hall, Mara approached the heart again. The golden light swirled around her hand and the machines paused, waiting for her signal. She touched the largest gear of the heart, feeling a deep hum travel through her veins. Soft images flashed in her mind. Cities of gold, alive with light. Creatures of energy dancing across plains. Voices singing together in harmony. These were the memories of the silent race before they had sealed themselves in silence. "They feared life would fail," Mara whispered. "But life can learn." The drones began to move in unison, forming patterns in the air that mirrored the heart's rhythm. The golden bones around the hall rose, connecting with the machines below. The air was thick with power, yet there was no fear, only anticipation. Reed looked at her. "You're controlling them?" Mara shook her head. "Not controlling and guiding. I'm giving them the choice to remember how to live, not just survive." The golden heart pulsed again, brighter this time. Energy rippled through the chamber. running along the walls, through the bones, and into the machines. The drones hummed in harmony as if learning a song for the first time. Outside, the desert shook as the machines began to reorganize. Golden dust swirled into the sky. The silence of Orin 9 was breaking. For centuries, not a single sound had traveled across the dunes. Now wind began to stir, carrying faint echoes of life. Mara felt the pulse in her chest. The energy of the heart had merged with her voice. The song of the silent race was returning through her, through the machines, and through the world. "Captain," she said, "we have to stabilize them. If we lose control, the heart could react violently." Reed nodded. "Then we stay here. We guide them." Together, they moved deeper into the chamber. Mara held her hand over the heart, repeating a simple hum she had sung before. The drones mirrored her tone, matching pitch and rhythm. Slowly, the golden hall transformed. Light flowed like water along the walls, patterns of harmony replacing the jagged images of war. The machines were no longer just guardians. They were students. They had learned the song of life, but far above, in orbit, the fleet's weapons locked onto Orin 9. Missiles and energy beams lined up, ready to fire. The command believed the site had become a weapon of mass destruction. Earth had no idea that what had been awakened was alive and could think. Tobin stared at the radar. "They're going to fire!" Reed swore under his breath. "No, not if we can help it." He grabbed the comms. "I'm cutting the signal. Mara, we need to finish what you started before they destroy us." Mara nodded. Her hands hovered above the golden heart, her voice soft but determined. She hummed the pattern of life, and the heart pulsed in response. The drones formed a protective dome around the team, energy shields of golden light spreading outward. The first shots from orbit arrived, but the golden shields absorbed the energy effortlessly. The drones rose higher, their wings of light forming a barrier across the sky. Mara realized that the silent race had anticipated such attacks long ago. Their machines were defensive, not offensive. "They trust us now," she whispered. Reed's eyes followed her. "And we trust them." Hours passed, though no one kept track of time. The chamber remained alive with golden light. The heart pulsed steadily, synchronized with Mara's voice and the drone's movements. The bones of the silent race hovered in the air, forming protective walls, intricate patterns, and even shapes resembling their lost cities. Finally, the energy began to settle. The drones hovered quietly, no longer twitching or reacting to Mara's voice, but remaining alert. The chamber felt alive but safe. The machines had remembered how to exist without destroying. Mara stepped back, exhausted but triumphant. "We did it. They're awake, and they're learning to live again." Reed placed a hand on her shoulder. "You didn't just wake them. You saved them." Tobin let out a low whistle. "I can't believe it. We came here to study ruins, and we're teachers now." Lena smiled softly. "Not teachers, guardians." Darius looked around the golden hall and nodded. "Then we have a lot of work to do." Mara looked at the glowing heart one last time. The king was right. Sound is power and life. Life needs sound to survive. Outside, the desert no longer seemed lifeless. The wind stirred, carrying the faintest echo of voices that had not been heard for 1,000 years. Orin 9 was awakening, and for the first time in centuries, the silence of the planet was no longer eternal. The golden chamber of Orin 9 glowed brighter than ever before. The heart of the silent race pulsed in harmony with Mara's voice. The drones hovered silently, wings of light reflecting in the golden bones suspended in the air. For the first time in centuries, the planet felt alive. Mara wiped the sweat from her brow, exhaustion weighing her down. But inside her, a new energy thrummed. She had become a bridge between two worlds, the ancient, silent past and the vibrant present. Reed approached her, his expression serious. "We can't stay here forever. We need a plan to make sure the fleet doesn't destroy this place." Mara nodded. "I know. The machines will protect the chamber for now, but we need to show them we are allies." Tobin checked his scanner again. "Captain, the energy spikes have stabilized. The drones aren't attacking, they're learning from us." "Good," Reed said. "Then we need to make contact with Earth, explain what's happening." Lena looked at Mara. "Do you think they'll understand? After centuries of silence, maybe humanity isn't ready for this." Mara's eyes were steady. "They have to be. The king trusted us. We have to show that life doesn't have to fear its own voice." The team moved carefully toward the chamber entrance. The golden light followed them like a living presence. Outside, the desert had transformed. Dust swirled gently in the breeze, carrying the faintest echoes of sound. Whispers, laughter, and music that had been trapped for 1,000 years. Orin 9 itself seemed to breathe. Reed activated the comms. Earth Command, this is Captain Reed of the Aurora's Step. We have made contact with intelligent systems on Orin 9. Stand by for a full report, Static answered. Then slowly voices came through. Confused, questioning, fearful. Earth had detected the energy readings and assumed hostile activity. Mara stepped forward, speaking clearly. This is Mara, a member of the expedition. The structures you detect are not weapons.
They are alive.
They are the remnants of a civilization that silenced themselves to prevent war. We have awakened them and they are learning to live again. There was a long pause. Then a cautious voice came through. Explain. Clearly, Mara nodded. The heart of Orin 9 holds machines built to enforce silence. They are ancient but not dangerous if guided. We are here to teach them how to exist peacefully. Our voice allowed them to remember life. Reed added, we request a temporary halt on all attacks and orbital strikes. The site is now under protection. You risk destroying an entire civilization if you fire. After a tense silence, the voice replied, acknowledged. Stand by for further instructions. Do not provoke the site, the team breathed collectively. One step closer to safety, and one step closer to restoring the silent race. Inside the chamber, Mara guided the drones closer to the heart. Each machine pulsed with light, echoing her voice in small rhythms. The golden bones formed structures that resembled the old cities she had seen in her visions. Towers, bridges, and walls all of gold suspended in mid-air created a living map of a civilization reborn. This is incredible, Lena whispered. They're not just machines, they're architects, historians, teachers. They've remembered their world. Mara smiled faintly, and now they can share it with the universe. Tobin shook his head in disbelief. I didn't think I'd ever see a planet rebuild itself. Alive, glowing, singing, literally singing. Reed walked beside Mara, scanning the chamber carefully. We still need to be careful. The heart is powerful. Even now, one wrong move could destabilize everything. Mara nodded. I know, but I feel them trusting me. Trusting us. The king said that only life could guide them. And we are alive. Days passed. The crew worked tirelessly to stabilize the heart and teach the machines. Mara's voice guided them in small steps. A hum here, a rhythm there, a pattern of sound that allowed them to understand life without harming it. The golden chamber became a hub of activity. The drones carried small fragments of gold to rebuild structures forming libraries, homes, and gardens. The bones aligned into towers and bridges, recreating the cities the silent race had once cherished. Even the air felt different. Where silence had reigned for centuries, now soft breezes carried subtle sounds, whispers, vibrations, the hum of machines learning to live. Reed looked at the transformation in awe. We've never done anything like this before. Humanity and a long-lost civilization working together. Mara paused for a moment, closing her eyes. She could feel the heartbeat of the planet, the pulse of the heart and the gentle rhythms of the drones. The silent race's energy had merged with hers. She felt alive, connected to something greater than herself. The day finally came to send the first message to Earth. Mara, with Reed and Lena at her side, composed the signal carefully. This is Orin 9, she began. We are the last remnants of a civilization that silenced itself to prevent war. We are alive, guided by humans who understand the importance of life and voice. Do not fear us. We are learning to live peacefully once more. Tobin added a note about the drone's defensive systems. They only respond to living voices. No harm can come to you if you do not provoke them. The message was sent across the galaxy. For a tense hour, no reply came. Then Earth Command answered. Message received. Stand down. Monitoring only. Do not engage, Reed exhaled. That's a start, Mara nodded. A start is all we need. With the fleet halted, the crew focused on teaching the silent race. They discovered that the drones could record music, stories, and lessons of the past. Mara's voice became the bridge. Her song recreated memories, her words taught lessons, and her presence reminded the machines of life beyond silence. In turn, the silent race's energy enhanced human technology. Instruments were powered by golden energy, able to sense and respond to emotions, sound, and thought. Even simple lights and machinery glowed in response to human touch. This is beyond anything we've imagined, Lena said. They're giving us knowledge. And we're giving them life, Reed nodded. It's a partnership, not domination. That's what the king wanted. Mara walked among the drones, speaking softly. Her voice carried across the hall through the golden bones and into the heart itself. The machines followed her tone, repeating her song in patterns. They learned harmony, patience, and creativity. For the first time in 1,000 years, Orin 9 was alive. Months passed. The golden city within the chamber thrived. Drones learned to build, to repair, and even to play. Mara had taught them songs of humanity, melodies that celebrated courage, compassion, and joy. The planet itself seemed to respond. Forests of golden trees sprouted along the dunes. Streams of sparkling water appeared, flowing through valleys long forgotten. The desert no longer felt barren, but alive with light, sound, and movement. Reed watched Mara teaching the machines one evening. You've done more than save a civilization, he said softly. You've changed this planet forever, Mara smiled. The king believed in life and sound. I just reminded them what it felt like. Tobin shook his head. I thought we were here to study ruins. Instead, we're witnessing a rebirth. Lena laughed softly, and we get to be part of it. Even Darius smiled quietly. It's a good kind of war we're fighting now, against silence, against nothingness. As the sun set on Orin 9, the golden chamber glowed like a beacon. The heart pulsed rhythmically, echoing the song of life. The drones danced in the air, building, singing, and remembering. The bones formed bridges and towers, creating a city of gold that sparkled under the light of the red sun. Mara stood at the center, feeling the pulse of the heart through her hands, her chest, and her voice. She sang softly, and the machines mirrored her melody perfectly. Harmony filled the chamber, spreading outward, touching the desert, the sky, and the stars. She realized then that the silent race had not been lost. They had only waited for a voice that could guide them back to life. And now, through humans, they had found it. Captain Reed approached her, watching the city glow. You think the king would be proud? Mara smiled, gazing at the drones soaring above. He would. And now the silence is truly broken, not with destruction, but with life, learning, and sound. The crew stood together, listening to the golden hum that filled the chamber. For the first time in millennia, the planet sang. It sang of hope, courage, and rebirth. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, Orin 9 shone like a jewel in the endless desert. The chamber of bones and gold had become a city of life, where silence was no longer eternal. Mara whispered softly, almost to herself. We did it. We gave them their voice back. And for the first time in centuries, the universe could hear.